Welcome to another episode of the Papiverse, y'all. I was supposed to do this one with Javi, but he is going through it. Y'all send him a lot of love and good energy because he is going through it. Anyway, so
how are you? Have you been?
How did you lose your virginity, Omar?
Okay, so it was...
How did it happen? Tell me.
You know what? It was a dewy Saturday spring morning. I was just finishing out of the shower when there was a guy coming down on a horse, and I had just milked the cows and I was ready to make some yogurt. And no, I'm just kidding. No,
Dan, do you have any alcohol? Can we take a shot because he needs to loosen up?
Huh?
You need a shot.
I'll take one. Vodka, Korean? I'll try it.
Yeah, let's do it because this is...
I just don't want to get anyone incarcerated. Just kidding. No, oh man, are we doing
so
shots?
Dead.
Yeah, no, you know what? I think it's just it also like this whole like right now. So right now we're recording and it's like super dark around us, even though the lighting is great. But it just fucks with me, like the winter blues and stuff like that. Does that, you don't get that? No, well, you're in
When's
Texas.
The last time you got laid?
I'll take the shot now.
That's probably what it is, Omar. You need to get laid. Thank you.
Cheers.
Oh, cheers.
Cling.
Cheers, Dan.
Oh, this is good.
This is pretty good. Yeah, that was good.
All right, so my first time. No, I'm kidding.
You have to finish it.
Oh, I'll sip it.
No.
It already hit me.
I don't care.
I'm on an empty stomach.
But even better.
Oh, this is hitting this. I'll have another one. No, just kidding.
Just finish it. Come on.
You're a pusher. No. Do you remember that scene? No, I like an alcohol pusher because like it looks better if somebody's like offering and insisting it than me asking for it. You ever get that?
No. Are you ready?
I'm ready.
How did you lose your virginity, Omar?
All right, so I was 16 years old. I was very tender, and my cream custard was ready to shoot. No, but you know what? I was
so
like,
not your
yes.
cream custard.
It hits me right away. Yeah. No, actually, well, when we kind of were discussing this topic, I was like, oh my God, like this is very like, I don't know why I was like, it kind of hit me like it was like a sensitive subject, not because it was like, the experience itself, but just I was almost like, I don't think I've ever seen any content or conversations about this topic. I think it's very, so I was like, I guess I felt a sense of everybody's journey is unique, and I was like,
it's not like a very intimate subject.
It's a very intimate subject, but it's also like, I mean, there's such topics as, I think because I know not everybody's first experience is consensual. And I think that's where I was like, okay, like I wanted to be sensitive about it. So before I start bringing it up, I just want to acknowledge that everybody's, it's not not for everybody. Like I think being a man, for us, it's almost like you're indoctrinated of it being like a milestone. Right. Where it's like you have that pressure and then you do it and it's just like, yeah, you're a man, or, there's this social...
Whereas with women, it's seen as
it's almost like less,
like
deflowering, or like you have these words. It's almost like a negative, like you lost something.
So I actually wanted to talk about it because of that.
Yeah.
Let's talk about what it actually is.
Yes.
Because I had some friends come visit Chicago, and I was here recording with you guys, and they were like, "Oh, let's go get food." And it was like a group of them. They're my best friend's sisters. They're straight. So, all of them are heterosexuals.
I think that's great. You diversify your friends.
Anyway, so we were all sitting down, and it's like some guys with their girlfriends, okay? So it's like, I think it was like 4 guys and 5 or 6 girls and me, so 7 girls. Abortion came up, and they were all, essentially everybody was like,
in between appetizers,
they were talking about just like, oh, well, I would never let my daughter at that age, blah, 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 blah. And I looked at them, and I remember all I asked was this. I just said, I was like, but what is virginity though? And they looked at me and they were like, what do you mean? And I go, well, what is it? First, we have to figure out what the definition is. Is it penetrative penis to vagina? Is it any kind of penetrative sex? Is it just penetrative sex? Is it oral? I'm like, because if it's penetrative sex, then are lesbians ever not virgins? And I was like, if it's a
Loophole.
penis, is a lesbian always gonna be a virgin if she only uses toys or like fingers? If it's oral, okay, then is oral
just
what
a
defines
taste?
virginity? What
Yes.
defines virginity?
Yeah, or yeah.
Right? Is it the hymen? There's like this thing called the hymen in a vagina, right? And it like if it tears, but it can tear when they're playing sports, and gay men don't have hymen. Am I still a virgin?
I
Like,
did
what
have it.
is virginity? When I asked them that, everyone started debating,
Yeah.
and everybody was like, no one could really come up with an answer. So I thought it was funny because virginity is not real. Virginity is not actually, it's a made up, it's a social construct.
Yes.
It's made up. Religion has a lot to do with it because of translations in the Bible. We're not going to get into that. That's too complicated. Just know that the people who chose what certain words meant in the Bible chose them for a reason. Do your research if you're one of those people that considers themselves, religious. But I remember we were talking about that and nobody could figure out an answer because there isn't one. Virginity does not exist. You have your first time having sex, but it's not real. Nobody can come up with a real exact definition.
I still have my period
of what that means because it could mean different things. What's the first time you had sex, Omar?
Oh, I was like 16 or 17. It wasn't something that I had planned, or I will say that there was, you do have that sense of like you want to lose your V card. But but there's no pride in holding out, so it's like it wasn't like I was looking to it. It was very casual. It just happened.
Was it with a girl or a boy?
It was with a boy. There were times that the opportunity arose with girls twice, but I was like, I mean, just to give a little bit of background, like I grew up in Catholic school, conservative background, so it was like the nuns would tell me like, don't sneeze in front of a girl, she'll get pregnant, or stuff like that. I would just see people getting pregnant around me left and right, so I was like,
wait,
dead
scared. Are you being serious?
Dead ass.
They actually told you that?
Implied.
Anything you could do with a girl would get her pregnant.
Yeah.
So
like, they were like, no, obviously, but they were like, oh, you shouldn't touch a woman or you're gonna get her pregnant. But they were. It was like almost implied, but they wouldn't tell you how because they didn't want to get into that. No, you have to put it in, and then ejaculate. These were not words that were
right. Yeah.
So, but yeah, no, it wasn't. It was like we were just hanging out, and I didn't think of this person as like a partner or anything, and it just we were playing music. Belanova was playing on the background.
Belanova,
and it was like a playlist.
So
I just remember Belanova, Julieta Venegas, and I forgot who else, Rake. So that's like not be pregnant.
That's so cute.
Those are my virginity songs.
Aww.
And yeah, it just happened. It started from like and funny thing, like this wasn't with someone that I was like in a relationship with or that I had expressed any sexual interest.
Yeah.
He just started kissing me and then one thing led to another. But I was like, it was also the first time I had like any type of gay experience. So it was like,
it was all
like
of that at once.
All of that at once.
Oh, that sounds like a lot.
I mean, like I had made out with girls. We, explored here and there and it was just, but I didn't expect it. So it was just the only thing I remember when it started with the kissing was like that. I was like, oh, this feels like more comfortable. I was like, this feels more like my stick, just because with girls, I was always like, are they liking it? Am I, I don't want to. Also, you don't want to be, I think I was overly critical of like making her feel comfortable because I grew up with the novelas. So I was like, you have to have the candles. There has to be a thunderstorm, the bed, the rain, the sweating, like this whole romantic, novelas. You've seen novelas.
Mm-hmm, yeah.
So I always thought it was like something that I thought it would be something that I would prepare for, something that I would have to like, I always imagine it would be with someone that I had like a relationship with, some sort of trust. And, it just happened very, very swiftly. And I just remember like we started kissing and one thing led to another. and I didn't know what I was doing.
Y te besó.
Yeah, it started with a kiss.
Were you topping or bottoming?
That I won't, just because I didn't know what I was doing. So I'll just tell you this: when I thought it was my turn to do something, they were like, "I don't do that," and I was like, "What the fuck?
What the fuck?"
Yeah. So it was
okay,
also
so
something.
You bottomed.
It was.
Bottomed.
I don't want to say.
Okay.
I won't disclose that because it was like I didn't know what I was doing. I didn't know how things went. I was like so innocent. Like when I tell you that I was like, oh, you could, you were like, no, and also because to give a little bit of a more background, like I didn't think about sex. I was told like you don't masturbate, so I didn't masturbate until I didn't masturbate until I was like 19, 20. That I was like, usually people's first sexual experiences are usually like self-exploration,
right?
But I always saw that as like not something that was like godly or whatever.
Oh yeah, wow, that's wild.
Yeah, and also,
so you were hardcore.
Yeah,
See, I grew up Pentecostal Christian, right? So I knew that sex was like seen as bad, but I always, even as a kid, I was like, I rejected a lot of their beliefs.
You're like,
so
I'll go along, bud.
I was like, I'm gonna lose when I have sex for the first time, it's not gonna be with someone. I don't care if I don't care if they're my partner or not. I just know I'm gonna like sex. Like, I have a lot of planets in Scorpio, and I if you know about astrology, I have a lot of Scorpio energy in my chart, and which is a very sexual sign. And so I think that's why, as like once I started hitting puberty and I like, started jacking off and having like realizing what sex was, I was like, I'm probably gonna like this. I didn't really see it as like, for me, it was more weddings. Like for me, it was like, when I have a wedding, it's gonna be with this person who's gonna be amazing for me, and it's gonna be big and beautiful and blah blah, fancy and like, happy ending. But sex, I was like, no, I need to hurry up and do this because I know I'm gonna like it, and I just want to like get it going,
get good at it,
I love them or not, like whatever.
Yeah,
I've talked about this a little bit before in our first episode, but I feel like most gay guys bottom their first time having sex, right?
you know what? I don't think it's something I've discussed with, like we brought up, but I don't think, and that's why I was also like, I don't think I've ever gotten with friends like, how did you lose, your first time? Or
yeah, you don't really talk about it too much, just why I thought it would be funny because it's Valentine's Day. So this is like, I was like, what's a romantic topic?
Oh, that's a different kind of V card, right?
Because I bottomed the first time too. It was my first boyfriend. I say that with quotations.
So this happened when you were in a relationship?
I was in high school. I met this guy on MySpace back when MySpace was a thing. That's how old we are, y'all.
When you're top 8, we're not tops. No, I'm kidding.
I think I was 16 and he was like 19. And he was weird.
I remember.
Yeah, he like put some black candles. Yes. He had candles in his room and he lit them, and one of them was like a skull. And
so Gerardo was sacrificed.
They were black candles. And like he lit them, and then he
put his hand over my head and he said, "Oh, that's
I think he was playing Marilyn Manson. And then we had sex on his floor, and I felt like I was being offered to the devil or something. I felt like I was gonna be sacrificed.
You're like, and then he pulled out a chicken. Oh, that's not the most.
Yeah. Yeah, it wasn't like yours. It was actually the opposite. Yeah, because I knew I wanted to do it anyway. Because I was like, I've been waiting for this. I had watched porn. I had jacked off.
See, I had
watched porn. I jacked off. I wasn't really expecting anything. I wasn't expecting it to be like magical. I just wanted to do it for fun, and I knew I would eventually. Yeah. I knew I wasn't gonna be like save till marriage or let me wait till I fall in love. I was just like, the first boyfriend I get, we're fucking, like, and I'm getting it out of the way because I love it. I love sex. After he topped me, because he topped, right? And then I wanted to try it, and then he tried to bottom, and he was like, oh my God. And he was like being a little bitch, and I was like, girl, shut up.
Enjoy the ride.
I was like, cállate. No, just kidding. No, just kidding. And he finally was like, okay, this works. And I was like, okay. And then
Boom, fireworks.
boom. And then I was like, yeah, this is what I want.
Yeah.
Yeah.
No, my first time, I don't consider it my first time. I mean, I consider it my first time, like, experiencing that. But, there's, I mean, like, the first time that you, like, ejaculate and that was like a whole new world. There's like,
Yeah.
I think we don't talk about this, about the other first times.
Right. Yeah.
You don't do it all at once. And then also there's nothing like, experiencing intimacy and like us, when you have an intimate or trust in there's different, there's also that, like, just purely accomplishing like a fantasy or something, doing something in a, the unexpected, more risky, or
right. Yeah.
those kinds of things. So I think worth noting that there's multiple firsts, but
Yeah.
so that's why I wouldn't think of that as my first time, because I think more fondly of the other times that were my first, that I actually knew what was, what I was going there to do, or what was going on, and I was more in touch with myself.
What was
my
your
sexuality.
first time, like, jacking off?
I was in a
older,
committed,
right?
Yeah,
like,
I was in a committed relationship, and he was out of town for like a long time, and I was like,
yeah,
once you're in a relationship and you get used to your routine, and I was used to having that release per se, and I was just like, it was like one of those where I was just like, man, I'm just like, I was like, I was just really,
you were
aroused
like,
easily,
yeah.
so I was like, it's almost like, all right, I could do that. I could, and it took me a while to figure it out. But as soon as I accomplished the mission, I was like, wow. And all of a sudden the relationship dynamic changed, because I was like, I could do that to myself now, so I don't need you now. No, but it was like, often you hear people like empowered by sexuality and these kinds, and it kind of, I could, that was when I was like,
what do
I
you
get
mean
it now.
it took you a while to figure it out?
Yeah, like, I was like, I don't know what I was, it, because I learned to experience pleasure with a partner versus like with myself first. So when I was doing it with myself, it was like, well, it's in my hand, it feels weird. It was like reversed than most people's experience.
Yeah.
So I was just, I was going at it for a while, and I was like, I don't know why I can't. And then, you're breathing, you're like, your senses, and, you let your mind wander. And I started to, that's when I started really like enjoying sex more, because I was able to really see what I liked,
your
and
life,
to learn also, like, I think each partner brings out each experience, I should say, brings out a different, I don't know, you just explore, and it's a beautiful, sexuality is a beautiful thing, if
sexuality is a beautiful thing,
and there's no shame. And I grew up with a lot of, these negative things about it, where it's like dirty, you don't talk about it.
Yeah.
So it started, that's, I think, up until like I was like 19, 20, that I started kind of being more. It took a while, but
how old were you when you found out,
first experience,
when you first sacked off? Yeah.
Like 19, 20.
Oh, you were older.
And
see,
I mean, obviously, I had like,
I was like in fourth grade.
Yeah. I know some people, I mean, to me, it always feels like you're a child, but I was normal.
Little.
It's normal.
I was like, I remember the moment. So I was like sitting, I was like, I had my legs crossed, and I was like, oh,
this
like,
feels good,
hard. And then I just started, like, I went with my natural instinct, which was to touch it with my hand. After that, it was like,
because you were
5 or 6 times a day, bitch.
Were you not like
I was like leaving that carpet crusty.
You're like, but did you not?
I was leaving those sheets.
Were
nasty.
You not like,
no, just
oh
kidding.
My God, I peed white?
No,
like that didn't. No,
I don't really remember what happened
when I discovered self-pressure. When I started practicing self-pleasure, I was like, I was also like, just all the time.
Yeah.
And it was,
and then you start experimenting with like
cucumbers, and no, I no,
no, I'm just kidding.
I also, no, but you become more familiar with toys, gears, this kind of other loops, and this. Honestly, it never called my. I'm a very natural person. No, I just it never like, even I tried one of those rings, that vibrator. It just feels foreign. So I've always been very traditional in that sense, like very
Oh,
conservative.
I've never tried the vibrating ring.
It was
Never tried that.
distracting. It was like you're sitting on the dryer or something. Bumpy road. It's not.
I got fucked on a dryer once. I talked about it already, but yeah.
Did you last the whole cycle? Was it the delicates or the?
So do you
Did you
remember
pick-
your first time giving head or getting head?
I don't. What I remember the first time getting head, I was like, like it's just, just. I was like very new, so it was like and people were very like just it's like
Yeah, it's like take your time. It's like calm down.
be nice.
I'm new.
Start nice.
I'm new here.
Yeah.
At the university.
I feel like some people are also not intuitive about like, one thing. Well, and this pro tip now. Be conscious of the person's breathing. It wasn't my first experiences, so it was like very like, ew, what are you doing? Like that hurts. Like,
yeah, you do have to be patient. You're right.
you have to be. That's why I think that's why maybe I don't remember much first. I remember, much later. Do you feel like you get the hang of it now?
Oh, I got
the
hang of it.
You're like, were you like, I'm a natural?
Yeah.
Because I know you've mentioned that you've get props. Oral fixation.
Moving forward, what did you feel afterwards though? After the first time you had sex, like, did you feel like bad?
Somewhat like, you feel like this exuberance of like, wow, like I've experienced this, or it's almost like this. It's almost seen like a milestone, right? But at the same time, then there's that like Catholic hill slowly creeping in, like, you're not pure, you're tainted, you're you're dirty, or but I think I was like,
it's funny because in religion there's this thing called purity culture. And it's basically the idea that you are impure the moment you start having sex, right? You got dirty.
Unless you're married, then you're doing things right.
But whenever people in religion talk about that, what they're actually doing is like completely disregarding the people who have had sex without consent. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Who have been sexually assaulted or harmed in some way. And it's really just kind of like, it's really terrible. Yeah. I never had guilt. No? I never had guilt about, I didn't have religious guilt, but the whole idea of like sex making you dirty is something that is pretty universal in the Western religion, like the West. I hate saying that actually, in Catholicism and in Christianity and stuff. And so even though it didn't stem from necessarily my religion, because I didn't believe in my religion that much. I mean, I believed in it, but I didn't really care for those kinds of beliefs. But just in general, we have that idea, especially with Latinos, like we think that like we have to mimic the things that our parents taught us within their own relationships and stuff.
And I grew up the way I grew up in the world around me, I was like, everybody's a virgin until they get married, and it wasn't like it was like nothing, it was very like sheltered in that way.
There's this person I follow, their name is Joe Lumen. She went to school for theology, and she talks about virginity and stuff and where it came from. And on her profile on Instagram, she has a bubble, those little highlight bubbles, and it's on virginity, and it's really interesting. She talks about the history and how it started and how it kind of became a way for people to control women, and like see them as just kind of like
also to threaten their value. Like, I mean,
because it's like a man never loses his value when he loses his virginity, when he has sex for the first time, is really what it is. And when women do it, they're seen as like less valuable. But it was just a way to control women, to control the idea of who they have sex with and whatever.
And then like,
but it's like
being married and like, these are my kids, so you
these
can
are
only
my
have
property.
sex.
But yeah, it's really interesting. And but at the end of the day, it is a construct. Like, people just kind of make it up. There's really no definition to what it is, because nobody really knows.
Yeah, and there's not one official way. There's multiple.
I don't even say virginity for the most part. I just used it for the show.
Do you say like, when were you inaugurated?
No, just
inaugurated.
Yeah, like your sexual debut, or your
debut.
Your sexual debut.
Yes.
Or your first time having sex. But it's like, it's definitely something like that. That's why sex is so shamed in the Latino community, because of Catholicism and Christianity and stuff like that. And a lot of gay men tried to like copy that, but I'm like, girl, like, sex is actually supposed to be fun. It's supposed to be about exploring. It's supposed to be about like finding what you like and enjoying all these different kinds of like flavors.
Could be romantic, could be anon, could be whatever, wherever.
There's romantic sex. There's casual sex. There's different kinds of sex.
Sex. Touch for the very first time. In Mexico, like, there used to be a thing like in TV and whatnot, like, instead of asking someone to like, hey, we should have sex, or you would say, que me des la prueba de amor, like the proof of love. So it was an act to prove that you love someone.
Right.
But that's just language to coerce people into feeling like, if do this if you want to prove to me that you love me, which is bad. But
that's terrible.
But like, things like that was like normalized back in the day, and still now, I'm sure.
Yeah, see, me, we had dial-up, so I had already seen everything happen. I wasn't expecting it to be like in porn, really, but I had already seen everything. I found my dad's porn magazines.
Was it like the images, or was it the cartoony ones? There were some books that were like
it was like a Playboy.
Oh, okay.
Or Penthouse magazine. Yeah, I wasn't into the women.
And Playboy is just women, right? It's never like,
or Penthouse. No, it was like a guy. One of the spreads was just a woman by herself, and I was like, nope, skipped right through that one. Then there was another one with the guy having sex with the woman. I was like, oh, it's not my fault. We had a garage, and he had a fridge in the garage, like an extra fridge. You know how Mexicans be doing that. And on top, he had like a box that was thin and long, and it was like, it said that it had like letters cut out, like the kind of letters, like letters for a classroom. And so I was like, oh, this is cool.
And you looked up the P.
And I opened it.
Porno.
And then I realized that wasn't in there.
And that goes there.
Is there anything you would change?
I will say
about your first time having sex?
Yeah, I wouldn't. No, it was, I mean, obviously it wasn't under my conditions, but it was consented to. So, I mean, honestly, I would have waited. I would have not, had I if it wasn't like for my urges or just my curiosity of like, oh, where is this going? You just hop on it, and then I didn't know and what time I got off. It was very fast. It happened very fast because I was just like, in my head, I was like, oh my God, like, what's going on? And, it was a lot of emotions. And so it was very intense in that way. But looking back at it, I didn't realize that, I wouldn't have chosen it to go like that. But that's,
really?
But that's how it happened. I don't think about it as like, and maybe that's because I'm a guy, and I wasn't like brought up with all these ideas that,
right. We are really, it's a huge like privilege to grow up not super attached to the idea of having sex, because it doesn't define your value.
Correct. It wouldn't devalue me.
Right.
Yeah,
whereas
with that notion,
they do that heavily to women, which is why a lot of women are very sexual, but end up being condemned for it. It's kind of sad. Women are just as sexual creatures as men are. They're just conditioned. Like, society teaches them that they shouldn't be, so they learn to suppress it. Sometimes they don't, which I'm happy that I have friends who are.
Yeah, and then they're like, witch, harlot, like, which is crazy. Like, back in the day,
that I have
like,
friends that are just sexually liberal. The women that I know. Honestly, I do regret
Yeah, you do.
The person?
Yeah.
Because that was weird. Maybe I would have changed the candles to white. Maybe like on the bed instead of on the floor. Some like music with no lyrics.
Careless Whisper without the lyrics.
No, just like nothing too corny, but more like, like electronic music, like
rave techno.
like
I don't know. Like, I just don't see techno in.
I don't know.
That's my first step,
I mean, yeah.
But I get it, like for
just,
the rhythm,
or like house,
house
music.
There's
music.
some hoes in this.
house music.
Yeah.
Would have been nice. Yeah. Yeah.
Can you feel it?
Okay, so
interesting.
Now,
yes.
Are you okay?
Yes.
I'm sorry. I didn't know that you would have changed it.
I probably just wouldn't do it there, and then probably give myself a little, like tip or two, but I would.
Yeah. Did you get a sex talk from your parents?
No, funny story. So in Mexico they teach you sex ed before than here, and it's also like very educational, like because when I had sex ed in the US, they're like, these are STD, you're gonna die. Basically the scene from Mean Girls. And in Mexico it was like, these are your parts, these are the other parts, this is how they work together. And it was very straightforward. And then of course that was like the talk of the school, like, oh, you're in, everybody knows. And I was like, oh yeah, they told us that, you ejaculate. And it was like super normal. No.
Oh, that's cool.
Yeah. So it was like, as far as sex education.
How old were you?
5th grade. What is that?
5th grade?
Yeah, 10 years.
Oh, no, not
11,
in the US.
10 years?
Nope, not where I was.
Yeah, no, I got it in high school, which was like, in here it was like, it was mostly just scaring you.
I remember we had one class in high school.
It was scaring you and showing you the worst case.
STDs, and I was like, girl, I've been doing this for a while. Yeah, I just remember I got really scared about STDs, and I was like, oh my God, what if I get, because I used to think that you could get STDs from
that's how they, anything,
just spontaneously.
Kissing. Or
from having
touching.
sex. No, I knew I was like, I thought you could get them from sex with another person, but even if both of you didn't have it, I thought they were just spontaneously created.
They just created, yeah.
And then I Googled it, and then I found out somebody has to have it to give it to you. And I was like, oh, I want a list of the best and worst places
that we've done it in.
Yeah. What's I want a list of the worst and best places to have sex for the first time, like to have your sexual debut. Where's like one of the do you have a list of the best places and worst places you could think of?
I could think of some of the, so some of the best places I would recommend is somebody's house,
on a really comfortable bed, in a restaurant.
Because you could eat after.
You could eat after.
You're done eating.
On a plane.
2
birds, 1 stone. Mile High Club. That's it. That's all I got for the best ones. I couldn't think of any other best places to have to have sex for the first time. Okay, so worst places to
me, it would be the ones you listed, like the plane. I'm like, I don't want to get arrested.
At a funeral. That's terrible, right?
Tú te vienes y ellos se van.
In a Taco Bell drive-thru.
Before, yes. After, no. It's all, yeah.
I literally wrote that down. I said, hopefully before you eat. In heaven, because that means you died without having sex. And standing up, because like having sex standing up sucks if it's your first time. That's really uncomfortable. I like to be like in a bed or like, laying down at least like laying down.
Maybe I'm biased because one of my first times was standing up. And
was that like your first time?
It was a first time doing something for the first time, but it was standing up. Oh, and you could really tell when it's like an awkward laughter, can't you?
Topping or bottom?
Huh?
Was it?
I'll just quote Tyra Banks.
Describe it.
Wanna be on top?
Oh, topping. Okay.
I was like a chihuahua trying to climb a giraffe. I'll just say that.
Oh, he was tall? Oh, here's the thing about fucking tall guys is it's like fucking a baby giraffe, right? Because it's like if they're super tall, it's like you can't. It's just like no.
It's like, hey,
I mean,
can I get a stool? Yeah.
no, I've never fucked a baby giraffe. I'm just saying.
Oh yeah, no,
Like I imagine,
yeah.
yeah.
No, I
No,
didn't
I don't
imagine.
imagine it.
What?
No, I don't imagine it. I
Yeah,
don't
yeah. I
imagine
don't
it.
imagine myself
I
fucking animals.
let's move on. Let's give them
Mhm.
tips for beginners because we talked.
Let's give some tips to the beginners.
Because
No pun
okay,
intended. No.
because we had the cameras right there, Omar. Cameras right there.
God.
We had he keeps looking at the screen that we have set up.
And I don't have glasses. It's not like I can really see what I'm looking at. But
then why are you?
Yeah, no, I just don't want to look slouchy, you know, like
we have tips for beginners, y'all, because I've had a few people approach me in person and be like, "Oh, like I'm just coming out and like your podcast is really like they like our podcast, but they're new to the scene." So,
yes.
if you've never had a penis in your butt,
If you never have you never,
or if you've never had sex before,
these are the following tips.
Just the tip.
You want to know what I wrote down? I wrote down
Don't do it.
someone so first make sure that someone patient, someone you trust,
Yes.
and someone who makes you feel attractive and not ugly. Because you want to feel attractive. I wouldn't regret it so much if the guy who I had sex with the first time actually was attractive and he was not that attractive.
And ideally,
I was just desperate for
just like
attention.
it's I mean it's
16.
the natural urge to just want to touch and feel and
Well, I mean also
You know?
I wanted a boyfriend and there wasn't much to choose from, so
you're like, that'll do, pig. Yeah, but to your point about being someone patient and and ideally, like if you know it's gonna happen, I mean, I would say like the first time, you would want it to be, you kind of want to know what you're going into. I wouldn't jump at the very first opportunity, just because you want to make sure you're in a safe environment and such.
Yeah, also lots of lube, consent. You can stop whenever you want. Take breaths,
You could tap out.
take breaks, breathe. And don't be scared to say what you want. Like appreciate them. Like you could say I appreciate what you're
You
doing.
could say, good boy. No.
I appreciate what you're doing.
Yeah.
I appreciate what you're doing. But can you not do it anymore?
Yeah.
Let's try this. You could do that. And don't put it on a pedestal. If it's your first time, don't put it on a pedestal.
What do you mean by that?
Like it's gonna be clumsy. Like the first time,
Have you ever?
because the first time you have sex, you are. It's not really about technique.
Yeah, you're like,
It's not about technique or style. It's about discovery.
Yeah.
It's like figuring it out, like discovering it. And it's like if you're worried about being good or like doing it like the best you can, like you kind of lose the fun of like discovering everything that you
Do you
are.
ever get hit while trying it? Like, you're awkward and you're like, oh, sorry. Like, I had a couple of those.
Oh,
where it
while
was
we're
like,
like in general,
you just
when
think
I'm
you're
having sex.
Yeah, like,
yeah, I mean it has happened. Yeah. Yeah.
that's always funny.
Oh my God.
That'll break the tension. It doesn't have to kill the mood, but it could.
Yeah, it doesn't. Also, it's not porn. It's not porn.
Yes.
It's not porn.
Don't perform. Do what
It's
feels
just
natural.
sex.
Yeah.
Like porn is not. Sex is not porn. Sex should not be like it's a porn movie.
You do not want to
So
give
no
someone.
screaming.
Don't
no
give
screaming.
If you're not enjoying
You
yourself,
can moan. You can make noises, but if you're like like don't do that. Don't do that.
yeah, it might give a false sense of what you actually like to your partner.
And don't take yourself too seriously. Have fun.
Yes.
Laugh. Because funny things happen during sex sometimes. One time I spilled poppers all over this man's carpet. He got really mad. I thought it was funny.
Would it stain?
I don't think so. It just smells really strong
Yeah.
for a
Oh
while.
my God. It's
Yeah.
Just imagine having family over. I'm like,
He was mad because he has a dog. He had to put his dog in like
oh my God,
the
in a cage
room.
or
And
something. Yeah.
I still finished him off. Like I gave him head. He came, but I remember he never wanted to hang out after that. He actually follows me on Instagram. So if you see this, I'm sorry.
How's your dog doing? Yeah, another things I would add would be like
Pay attention to your body.
pay attention
Tell
to your
them
body.
beforehand what you're willing to try and what you're not willing to try.
Set boundaries.
Boundaries, yes.
And expectation also. I think that's a good one. Don't feel like you're being pressured. Communication. Make sure you have like good communication.
Right. Someone you trust. That's why it's important to do with someone you trust, girl.
You gotta vet people for this.
Yeah.
If it happens in the moment, that's also like hope it's a good experience, but yeah, and also just not to take the the experience as definitive of what
a bathhouse is a good place to do it for the first time too. Wait, no. Wait,
no, I don't think so. I think that's more like exploring after you got.
You're right. That's not.
I just yeah. And yeah, just remember that your first time, it will not be definitive of like what the rest of your sexual life would be like. You could change your mind. It's. I just imagine for like bi people, I'm like, does it count as you have it twice? If you're bi.
If you're bisexual,
always asking the right questions in this podcast we're just
you have
2 inaugurations. You get to do it all over again.
Yeah, you get to have like a second reckoning.
A second reckoning. Or a second wrecking. Ooh.
You get to like really show the world what you can do twice.
Yeah.
Well, that's our episode. Thank you guys.
Thank you for listening.
Thank you for listening. Bye guys. I don't know why we just had that conversation. We'll talk to you later.
Bye.
Bye.